think about it. Just three tiny words, a, an, and the. They seem so, well, so basic, right? But honestly, for anyone learning English, they can feel like, I don't know, the absolute trickiest part of the whole language sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. They're essential for sounding natural, for being clear, but actually getting them right consistently. That's a real hurdle for a lot of people.
It really is. It's kind of fascinating, isn't it, how these little things can be such a challenge. You learn the big verbs, the nouns, you can build sentences.
Yeah, and then you pause thinking, wait, is it I went to store or I went to the store? It just shows there's more going on than just simple rules.
Exactly. It's not just about knowing the basics. There are always those, those exceptions and that little voice wondering which one fits. Or maybe you don't need one at all.
Right.
So that's what we're doing today. We're diving deep. We're sort of on a mission, you could say, to untangle these English articles.
Yeah, and our aim isn't just to, read from a grammar book. We really want to help you get a feel for why we use them this way. More intuitive.
Understand the core ideas, the common traps, and get some actual strategies to feel more confident.
Exactly.
And to help us out, we've got some great stuff here. We've looked at parts of some really detailed guides, a handy review doc, a quiz.
With answers. Always helpful.
Definitely. Plus some essay questions that make you think, and a glossary, just so we're all clear of the terms.
Sounds like a solid toolkit.
Okay, so first things first, we need to build that foundation. Let's talk about something absolutely key. Countable versus uncountable nouns.
Yes. This is really, truly the starting point. If you get this distinction, honestly, so much else falls into place.
Okay, so countable nouns. These are, well, pretty straightforward, aren't they? Things you can actually count.
Individual items.
One book, two cats, three ideas. You can put a number before them. They have singular and plural forms. And the big takeaway here, a or an only works with singular countable nouns. That's it.
Precisely. They represent those distinct units. Now, uncountable nouns, that's the other side of the coin.
Right. These are more like substances, concepts, things you can't easily count as individual items.
Exactly. Like water, sand, information, happiness, furniture, advice, stuff like that. They usually just have one form, the singular.
You wouldn't say two informations or three advices.
Nope. And crucially, you never, ever use a or n right before an uncountable noun on its own.
Right. So no, a water, you need something else like a glass of water or some water, a lot of water.
Yeah.
You need to quantify it somehow.
You need those measuring phrases.
Yeah. And here's where it gets fun or maybe confusing. Some nouns can be both. They're like little chameleons.
Oh, yeah. This trips people up all the time. A classic example is chicken.
Okay.
If you say, I'd like some chicken, you mean the meat, right? The food, that's uncountable.
Got it.
But if you say, look, there's a chicken in the garden, you mean one specific bird, countable.
Makes sense. And there are lots like that, aren't there? Like hair.
She has lovely hair. That's all of it. Uncountable. But, there's a hair in my soup. Just one single strand. Countable.
Or light. We need more light. General illumination. Uncountable. Turn on the two lights, the actual lamps, countable.
And paper. Give me some paper, the material. Did you read a paper this morning? The newspaper or document?
I think abstract things like time. I don't have much time is general. Uncountable.
But we had a great time at the party. That's a specific instance. Countable.
And drinks too, right? Like coffee.
Yep. I love coffee. The substance, uncountable. But you ask for a coffee when you mean one cut, one serving. Countable. Same for tea, juice.
So how do you usually tell? Is there a quick test?
A pretty good rule of thumb is, can you put a number before it and add an S? One chair, two chairs, yes. Countable. One furniture, two furnitures, no. Uncountable.
Oh, that's handy.
And remember, we use many and few with countables, like many chairs, but much and little with uncountables, like much furniture.
Okay, that's a really useful way to think about it. So now that we've got a better handle on countable versus uncountable, let's move to a and an, the indefinite articles.
Right. The non-specific ones.
These guys signal we're talking about a single countable thing, but not a particular one the listener already knows about.
Exactly. It's like saying one of many or any one example of this type. And again, remember, only with singular countable nouns.
So when do we actually use them? Well, the big one is the first time you mention something countable and singular, like I bought a book yesterday. Just some book, not one we've discussed.
Perfect example. Another key use is referring to any member of a group. like a teacher needs patience. Not a specific teacher, but any teacher, teachers in general.
Okay. And professions, roles, nationalities, that kind of thing.
Yes, for a single person. He's an engineer. She wants to be a writer. My friend is a Canadian.
Gotcha. And what are those price or speed things?
Right. Or it means per, like 50 miles an hour or $2 a kilo. Also, certain numbers or quantities, like a dozen, a few, 100.
Oh, and those exclamations. What a day.
Yep. And sometimes it just literally means, one, I have a brother.
Okay. Now, the big question, a versus an. This is where people get tangled up, right?
It is a classic point of confusion, but the rule itself is actually quite simple. It's just easy to forget.
So what is it? What's the key?
It's all about the sound that comes immediately after the article, not the letter, the sound.
Yes, this is so important.
Okay.
Okay, so A comes before consonant sound.
Right, like a cat, a big dog, a green apple.
But also words that start with a vowel letter but a consonant sound. This is the tricky bit.
Exactly, like university. Starts with U, but the sound is U. A consonant sound, so it's a university.
Not a university.
Okay.
And European.
Same U sound, a European trip, and one starts with O, looks like a vowel.
But sounds like whoa. So one-way street.
You got it. Those are common traps.
So conversely, an comes before a vowel sound.
Correct. An orange, an interesting story.
And this includes words where the first letter is silent, but the sound is a vowel.
Yes, like hour. Silent H starts with an ow sound, so an hour. Same for honest, an honest person, or heir, an heir.
And what about abbreviations? Like MP or FBI?
Depends how you say the letter. MP starts with an M sound, vowel sound. So an MP, FBI starts with F, an FBI agent. X-ray starts with X, an X-ray.
Wow, okay, so you really have to listen to that initial sound, not just look at the spelling.
That's the crucial thing.
And just to hammer it home, A and N are only for singular countable nouns, never plural, never uncountable, and never when it's specific.
For specific, we need
The definite article.
Exactly. The is our signal for specificity. It tells the listener, you know which one I mean. We have a shared understanding about this particular noun.
And the nice thing about the WA is it's more flexible, isn't it? It works with more noun types.
It does. You can use the with singular countables, the book, plural countables, the books, and uncountables, the advice.
Okay, so when does the come into play?
Well, a very common use is the second time you mention something. I saw a dog. The dog was barking. Now we know which dog.
Makes sense. Introduced with a, then referred to with the. What else?
When something is unique, either universally unique, like the sun, the moon, the internet.
Only one of those.
Right. Or unique in the immediate context. If we're in a kitchen and I say, pass the salt, we both know I mean the salt shaker right here. Or the CEO of this company, usually only one.
Okay. And even if it wasn't mentioned before,
Yeah.
if it's obvious from the situation.
Exactly. Shared knowledge or context. If you're at home, asking, where's the remote, implies the specific remote for your TV. Or asking a friend, how was the wedding, assuming you both know which wedding you're talking about.
Got it. Then there are superlatives, the biggest, the most important, and ordinal numbers, the first, the third.
Yes. And we also use the sometimes to talk about a whole class or species, often in a more formal or scientific way. Like, the whale is a mammal. It represents all whales.
Right, that generic use. You could also say whales are mammals, but the whale sounds a bit more formal, maybe.
It can, yes. And we use the with adjectives for groups of people. The rich, the poor, the young.
Okay, and now, geographical names. This is where my head starts to spin sometime.
Oh boy, yes. This is a notorious area. There are patterns, but also exceptions.
So what's the general idea?
Generally, things like rivers, the Nile, oceans, the Pacific, seas, the Mediterranean, deserts, the Gobi, island groups, the Canaries, and mountain ranges, the Alps, take the butt. Continents, Africa, most individual countries, Spain, Brazil, most cities, Paris, Tokyo, single mountains, Mount Everest, and single lakes, Lake Superior, usually don't take the.
Usually. So there are exceptions.
There are countries with plural names like the Netherlands, the Philippines, or names including words like republic, kingdom, states, the Czech Republic, the United Kingdom, the United States. It requires some memorization.
Definitely seems like it. What else gets the specific buildings?
Yes, specific named buildings, hotels, theaters, museums, newspapers, organizations, ships, the Eiffel Tower, the Plaza Hotel, the British Museum, the New York Times, the United Nations, the Titanic.
Okay. And playing musical instruments.
He plays the piano. And decades and centuries. The 1960s, the 21st century.
And one more big one, when you add a phrase that specifies which noun you mean.
Exactly. A modifying phrase or clause like the woman who lives next door or the information I sent you yesterday. That extra information makes it specific, so it takes the.
Phew. Okay. That's a lot for the day. Now, what about when we use nothing, the zero article?
Right. Sometimes the absence of an article is the correct choice, and it's just as important.
So when do we leave it out?
Primarily when talking about things in a very general sense. For plural countable nouns used generally, computers have changed our lives. Not specific computers, just computers in general.
Okay. And general uncountable nouns, too.
Yes. Love is important. Honesty is the best policy. Abstract concepts or substances used generally often take no article.
And most proper nouns, right. Names of people, places.
Exactly. People, John Smith, continents, Asia, most countries and cities, as we said, single mountain lakes, Mount Fuji, Lake Garda, companies, Microsoft, planets, Mars, usually zero article.
What about meals? Dinner is ready.
Generally, yes. When talking about meals like breakfast, lunch, dinner in a general way, no article, let's have lunch.
Languages, nationalities.
The language itself speaks French, or the
Okay.
people in general.
Yeah.
Germans are known for engineering, no article. Sports and games, too. I play tennis. Academic subjects. He studies physics.
Okay. And titles with names, like Dr. Evans or President Lincoln.
Right. Title plus name usually means no article before the title, but you'd say the doctor or the president if you're just referring to the role.
Ah, okay. And there's that subtle thing with institutions, isn't there? Like school, hospital, prison.
Yes. This is a key one. When you're talking about the purpose or the general concept of the institution, it's often zero article. You go to school to learn. You're in hospital as a patient. You go to prison as an inmate. You're at work.
But if you mean the actual building.
Then you'd use the I went to the school to pick up my kids. I visited him in the hospital. I drove past the prison. It's about function versus specific location.
It's a really useful distinction.
Yeah.
And by plus transport. By car, by train.
Yep, zero article there. And certain times, at noon, at sunset, before dawn.
Okay, so we've covered a many in, the, and nothing. That's a lot of rules and uses. When you're actually trying to speak or write, how do you sort through it all? Is there a mental checklist?
There kind of is, yeah. You can train yourself to ask a sequence of questions. First, is this noun countable or uncountable? If it's uncountable, am I talking generally? Usually zero article, or specifically, probably the. If it's countable, next question. Singular or plural?
Right.
If it's plural, am I talking generally? Zero article again, or specifically, then thy. If it's singular and countable, final question, is it non-specific, maybe mentioned for the first time? Then a or n, depending on the sound. Or is it specific, unique, already known? Then it's the.
That breaks it down quite logically. It's like a little decision tree.
It is. It takes practice to make it automatic, but it covers most situations.
Okay, so knowing the path is one thing.
Oh.
But where do people usually stumble? What are the really common mistakes we should watch out for?
Oh, there are definitely recurring ones. A big one is just forgetting a or an before a singular countable noun, hearing something like, she is teacher instead of a teacher.
Yeah, I hear that sometimes.
Another is putting a or n with plurals. He has a nice friends.
Nope. Or using a n with uncountables, an advice, a luggage. Those are classics.
Right, and using the too much for general things. Yes, overusing the when speaking generally, like the books are expensive when you just mean books in general are expensive. And the opposite, forgetting the when it is specific. Closed door, please, when there's clearly one specific door you mean.
And the geographical names nightmare we talked about.
Definitely a minefield. And that a versus an based on spelling, not sound, a hour, is still quite common. Also, just translating directly from your native language if its article system is different. That causes a lot of errors. And getting abstract nouns wrong, or those fixed phrases like go to the bed instead of go to bed.
It seems like just knowing these are common errors is a really good starting point for fixing them.
It really is. Awareness is step one. Then comes the practice. And even beyond these main rules, there are always little extra complexities.
Ah, yes, the advanced nuances. Just when you think you've got it.
Well, yeah, like how sometimes you can use a with an uncountable noun, remember, if you mean a type of or a specific instance. That's a lovely cheese, meaning a type or piece.
Right.
And using the with adjectives for groups, the homeless, that generic the with singular nouns for a whole class, the computer has changed society. The go to school versus go to the school thing.
Body parts, too, sometimes. Hit on the head.
Exactly. And knowing most versus the most, these are finer points that often come with more exposure.
So it really drives home that point. Mastering articles isn't just learning rules from a list. It's about developing, an instinct for it in context.
Precisely.
So how do we get that instinct? What really works for practice?
It's really a mix. You need the conscious learning, maybe doing some focused exercises on specific rules you struggle with. But then, crucially, you need massive amounts of input and output. Reading a lot, but not just reading passively, actively noticing the articles. Asking yourself why this article was used here. Listening actively to podcasts, conversations, films. Get your ear tuned to the natural patterns.
And actually using them, I guess. Writing and speaking.
Absolutely. Writing practice, maybe keeping a journal, summarizing things, forces you to make choices. And speaking, ideally with someone who can give you gentle feedback, don't fear mistakes, analyze them. Why did I say A advice? Oh, right, uncountable.
So it's that cycle of learn, notice, practice, get feedback, refine.
Exactly. It's gradual. Over time, that conscious decision-making process we talked about becomes faster, more subconscious. It starts to just feel right or wrong.
Developing that sixth sense for English articles.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up then. We've really dug into A, and even the zero article. The big things seem to be understanding countability and specificity.
Those are the core concepts, and knowing the different jobs each article or lack of article does.
And the main message seems to be, this takes time, it takes practice, lots of exposure, you won't master it overnight.
Absolutely not. Be patient with yourself, but be persistent.
So maybe a little task for everyone listening. For the next week, just try to consciously notice articles. When you're reading or listening to English, don't stress about getting it perfect. Just observe.
That's a great way to start internalizing it.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. We've seen how these tiny, tiny words, a and the, can really change the meaning of things. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other small parts of language, things we might overlook, actually hold a surprising amount of power and complexity?
That's a fascinating question. Maybe it encourages a deeper look beyond just articles into other corners of English grammar.